Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Chris.
I'm Kathy.
We go by Ginger Marvin here on YouTube and on Instagram, and we have a different video for you guys today. So Kathy recently set off to challenge herself for listing 105 items in one 8-hour period. So why 105?
That's just like what I try to do every week anyways, except I break it up throughout the whole week, 7 days. I do 15 listings a day.
Okay.
So I wanted to see if I could do that, like all of my work pretty much within one 8-hour work day, just to kind of free up some time throughout the week to do other things, more sourcing, more videos, more activities, I don't know, hobbies, find a hobby, basically anything.
And so with the 8-hour period, we do work from home. We do have kids, so we rarely get 8 hours straight to work. So we figured 8 hours time period is kind of like relatable. Everybody knows what an 8-hour workday is. And so that's kind of what we went with. And so the challenge itself is to get 105 listings up in 8 hours. Now that doesn't include sourcing. That doesn't include cleaning, right? We did all that kind of stuff before.
I tried to buy stuff that didn't need cleaning for this specific challenge, and in general, I try to buy things that I don't need to do a whole lot of work on the front end.
So it doesn't include any of that time. This is just photographing, drafting, listing, and bagging and putting in our inventory, which you see right behind us. So originally, we set out to record ourselves in the act, like in between all the steps. And we did. We recorded ourselves, and I actually started to edit that video, and I quickly realized that we had talked in between actual working, the 8 hours, we had talked an hour and 18 minutes of just talking between time. So after editing for a couple hours, I quickly realized that there's really no way to cut, an hour's worth of talking from an hour and 18 minutes to make it kind of a workable video. Otherwise, it would just be like a 3-hour long video, and I don't think there are many people out there that would watch that, but YouTube definitely doesn't like that.
Didn't get the point across that we were trying to make.
Right.
That's for sure.
I think that was what happened. We set off to do a challenge, but then we kind of let our process and us trying to share a bunch of tips kind of take over what the challenge actually was, and we kind of lost that along the way. So we're gonna reshoot. This has actually been a couple weeks since we've shot this footage, and so we're gonna go through the time lapse with you guys now after the fact, share with you guys what we were kind of feeling in the moment, and go through the actual challenge. I think we decided later that all the tips and stuff are great, but I think they'd be better suited for like their own kind of video. It was just too much. So we're gonna cut to the time lapse, and we're gonna show you and talk about what was going on. And the first thing we were doing.
All right, so you can kind of see I had shoes, pants, and shirts, dresses. So I kind of split them all up. So right here in the first part, I'm just doing shoes. So yeah, I take about 6 to 8 photos per item. I try to get all the angles, the size tag, everything like that. For this video, you can see I'm just kind of dumping them in the bin on the side. If I was just doing my 15, I would probably just bag them up right away as I was doing it.
Right.
But yeah, for this video, I just wanted to kind of make the photographing part go as quickly as possible, and we're going to do the bagging a little bit later on. So these swimming suits, since they're 2 pieces, I did photograph them on the table. Normally I photograph any clothing on the wall, which you'll now see here. So yeah, I am moved on to pants, shorts, swimsuits, anything that I'm clipping on these pant hangers.
So that's a good tip, is to have things, similar items together, right? So she did all the shoes at once. It's one quick motion, just over and over and over. And now all the hanging stuff on the pants, and then, you'll move eventually to the shirts and stuff.
Yeah, so the more similar items you can have, the faster you can probably go. Like if I was only doing shoes, this would have been a lot faster all the way around.
Yeah. And so I think you had said that you take about 30 seconds to a minute to photograph each item, right?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. And so, you're cruising along. You're about halfway done, I'd say. And it seems like things were going pretty well.
It did.
Yeah, you were getting right around that time. I think by the end of this, it was actually 45 seconds was the average. So it was like right down the line. And I
was pretty happy with the photographing part. I did, pre-check everything for flaws as I bought it, and as I typed it into our inventory. There was a couple things I found as I was going, but for the most part, it was smooth sailing. The worst I had to do was mainly some extra lint rolling.
You know what actually happened during this? Remember, our kid's school called and he forgot his lunch. So I had to run off. I don't remember exactly at what point it was, but I had to run off and take his lunch to school. Yeah. But I wasn't like part of this anyway.
But it was ringing on my phone, which I was using to photograph. So I think I kept like hanging up on it, and then I kept calling. So I was like, it must be something important. Yeah. Something I wanted to mention was I just noticed a couple vintage pieces. So the reason I was doing kids' clothes shoes for this challenge was because it's something I'm pretty quick at. And so I don't really measure anything, except I did measure a few vintage pieces, which you'll see, I think, later on in the video. But otherwise I don't measure, so it goes quickly.
And with that, the photographing step is done. And overall, like we said, it went smooth. 45 seconds each item on average. At this point, we're cruising along, right? Kathy's
it felt really good. I was like,
good.
Okay, I'm
photographed 105 items in, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but so things were looking good. And then I stepped in to help, and
because I asked him to.
So 105 items is quite a bit to do. So I'm pretty good at drafting from the desktop, as long as the photos are there. And we're gonna cut to the drafting process and transferring the photos, and I'll talk about what's going on there. So you'll see I'm transferring the photos through the app, and right away we just had something. It was not loading. The computer was just giving us so much trouble, and so it took a long time for the 105 times 6 or 7 photos to transfer over. And so this step took just a lot more time than we were ever imagining. Eventually I got it through. I think it was
I thought it would take about 30 minutes to do all the drafts, but it ended up taking about 1 hour 5, I think.
Yeah, so more than double the time.
Extra minutes that I wasn't really expecting, and that's just me guessing how long it was going to take based on past experience, but we've never done this much at once before.
And you'll see here now, I'm drafting. I've got all the photos in one side, and just drafting. I do draft 10 at a time on this perfectly, and now you'll notice that there's not as much footage there. The GoPro died, and I lost some of that footage there, but it was the same thing. I was just drafting. That went smooth. Once the photos were there, the drafting was easy. But there was also, do you remember some of the photos did not transfer over?
Yeah, and so that was something that probably took me a little bit longer later in the day when I was listing and realizing I'm missing a couple photos, or they're out of order, or stuff like that. So then I had to go back in my phone and upload that way. It's a couple minutes here and there adds up. That probably added up to an extra 30 minutes to an hour. So. Yep.
And so with the drafting done, I think it was about lunchtime. We were probably, getting hangry.
I was getting a little grumpy at that time just for how long it was taking the drafts. Because, at this point, I was kind of, stuck because I didn't really have anything else on my agenda that day because, I only wanted to get this video done. Normally if I asked him to draft something, I could go, do something else. But at this time, it's all I wanted to think about. So I was getting grumpy, and then I asked him to go grab me some Chinese food, which you'll see.
Yep, picked up some Chinese. Kathy can eat while she works. I don't like doing that, so I ate downstairs. And you'll notice as I was editing, Reese is sitting there, and he just does not know who to go to.
He knows if there's any chance of him getting anything, it's from me.
So he's sitting there. Kathy hasn't really started eating yet, but I'm downstairs eating at this point, and he's just conflicted, so you'll see his head go back and forth. But basically Kathy's doing the listing process here. Normally she'll have YouTubers on. We'll try to catch up with our YouTube friends and all that, but this challenge, we were kind of thinking that might have distracted us, right?
It does distract me to watch it. I love watching it, but I think I start thinking about things and ideas, and then I just, keep pausing videos or going to the next video where it just takes time out of my day. So I decided to just listen to music. I don't really need to pay attention to the screen.
And so now I'm done with lunch, and I come up to assist Kathy. Now, originally she was thinking she was going to do this all on her own, but our time was kind of running out.
Yeah, like, you know, we're saying 8 hours, but the first part you saw actually happened on a Tuesday morning. I just did the photographs. I had less than 2 hours that day, so I was like, let me knock out the photographs. So the next day we had maybe 5 hours. So again, I wouldn't have finished it if I did every step myself. So Chris took over the bagging that you can see. But
I got really hot because I was wearing a flannel. So I went downstairs, changed, came up, and continued to bag.
We're counting his time as if I was doing it. So it's not like we're taking that out of the steps or anything.
Yeah. And so I picked up some. I was trying
really
to.
Fast.
I was trying to make up for the failure from the computer
Honestly,
earlier.
If I bagged this all myself, it probably took longer. So it probably did kind of make up for the drafts.
So bagged 100, and it wasn't totally 105.
Nice he folded too. Like, it's so fancy.
Well, thank you. I
would
try
not
to
have done that good of a job at bagging.
But this is a very boring step, so yep, just a lot of bagging and a lot of listing. I don't think we said 10 words to each other while we were doing this. We were just zoned in, focused. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that we kind of were hoping to get out of this challenge was to see if this was something that Kathy would want to do on a regular basis. Not necessarily a challenge, but just larger volume of things in each step of the process versus the 15 or 30 that she normally does in a day. Yeah. And so at this time, you know, we're feeling it, right? Like we're like,
it's like, it was feeling good. Like, okay, I'm getting a lot done, but it's so boring. Do I want to be this bored even just one day a week? I mean, that's not that bad of a deal just to be bored, but it's hard to I was just sitting there, you know. On a normal day, I can do my listings, and I can go thrift, and I can clean my house a little, then whatever I want to do, I can do. But yeah, this was a really long day.
Yeah. But again, if it was something that we could just grind out one day a week, you know, we used to do a lot harder stuff at work when we worked for other people, right? So
I think I started thinking, you know, maybe not list 105 in one day ever again, but if I could. The photographing took less than 2 hours. I definitely could knock that out one day a week, and then I have my 105 or however many listings I want to do, and I can just list them up as I have time throughout the week, which is much easier. So that, as of right now, is something I do think I might adapt going forward. So.
Yeah, and we realized that very, very quick at, you know, just the gruelingness. The gruelingness, is that a word? How grueling it is to get that many listings up. And then you'll see here, I do actually stop bagging. I think I have a few things left, but I start editing our video that was going up that day because, you know, everything else still has to go on. Our kids were still at school. And so I don't know, where did I go?
I feel like you went downstairs and then can come back up soon. But yeah, you're editing your video. I'm just still
listing away.
Items. Listing. Honestly, when you really think about how long it took, it wasn't that long. It just felt long to me because I haven't done this in a very long time, this many.
I think one of the things I did not like the most was that we just really didn't interact with each other. We were.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, we would say
if
things.
Anything, honestly, I feel like he tried to talk to me a few times, and I was just like short, like don't talk to me because I'm trying to list, and I don't want to mess up my time, like as if I'm still gonna get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think right around this time is when we realized that we had hit the 8 hours.
Yeah.
It was right about this time. So, you know, officially the challenge has been failed at this point, right?
Which I kind of like felt once the drafting was taking so long. I was like, okay, even though that was like the second step, I just kind of already saw the day getting away from us, and I was getting frustrated. So, yeah.
I think that's the really hard part. When you start falling behind so early, it's just that snowball gets bigger and bigger, and it's just harder to push forward, right?
Because I had a good idea of how long each step was going to take, and for the most part, it was right on the money.
So. I mean, it's not like you took a super long time relative to how many items you were doing. You listed very well and very quick. It was just the time wasn't on our side, you know? And so I finish editing the video, upload it, and we have a few minutes before we got to pick up the kids from school. And so, you know, we start putting some things away, and this is kind of our process there, but we only have like maybe 10 or 15 minutes before I had to go get the kids. And we were going to call it a day at this time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did.
We were burnt out from the whole day.
Right.
We were just realizing that it was failed, you know.
I mean, we were still going to finish it.
Right,
At this point, we were thinking the next day we were going to finish it up.
Yeah.
But in a few minutes, you'll see.
I actually, picked up the kids. We did a lot of nighttime activities. I think we had Taekwondo with the kids, and I ended up, every other Wednesday I hang out with some friends, and this was just one of those days.
Yeah.
So I had gone and hung out with a couple of my friends, and came back, and Kathy was up here working away. So
I decided, because the next day I was kind of over this in general, but I had other things to do, and I just didn't want that to cut into it. So I'm like, let me just knock this out. I probably have 1 to 2 hours left, which I did.
You were working a little bit before I got there, so you didn't know how to work the GoPro, so we didn't get that footage. But I started it as soon as I got there, finished bagging some things that she needed measured and all that.
Those last little vintage ones that I said we measured. He's bagged those for me.
And then we were like, okay, we have like 15 minutes till midnight. Let's get all the stuff put away. And we did that challenge.
Yeah, we did. It was like 11:59, as if that mattered. It was like super failed.
Yeah, and so you'll see there we're just working on the last item, getting it put away. For some reason, it's always the last one that takes longer than it should, right? So, but we did it. We got 105 listings up. Not in 8 hours.
Not in 8 hours.
I think the final tally was what?
It's about 10 and a half. Somewhere between 10 and a half and 11.
Still really, really awesome.
Yeah, and not, like he said, not including the sourcing or the typing it into our spreadsheet. So I would say all in maybe 20 hours, which is still really good. That's a whole week's worth of work, essentially.
So again, to reiterate, the challenge has officially been a failure, but I don't like calling it a failure because we just got so much done. And
it felt good at the end. When it was all done, it felt really good.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to do listings the rest
of the week,
which was cool.
We normally list 15 a day on average. Did you notice anything different from listing 105 on one day and then just kind of not listing anything else the rest of the week?
I did. And it's hard to know if that's because of me doing that or if it's just because of the time of year. People are kind of shopping Christmas right now. We're in December, so...
This was like November 30th, I think, is when we did the listing and all that stuff. So,
so right now I, try to list 15 a day, and I generally sell 10 to 15 a day. That's pretty much every day. That's what happens. It just happens that way. This day, I felt like for the next few days after, I wasn't making very good sales.
It had actually taken how many days for one of these items to sell, right?
I thought at least a few would sell right away. That pretty much happens usually, and none sold for at least till the third day after they were listed. But just in general, my whole eBay store did not see a boost or anything. And then the reason I do 15 a day is because I'm like, okay, I want eBay to, see that I'm listing, see that I'm doing consistent stuff every day. And this week I wasn't because I only listed one day. And I don't think that eBay liked that. I felt like my sales were down. But I don't know if that's because of the listing or if it's just because of the time of year. So hard to know.
And I don't think if we had gone the other route of having them drafted and then listing 15 a day and did that, there's no way for us to know if it would have actually done better or worse. So
I do feel like, I don't know, every day when I list, I feel like I make a sale very quickly thereafter. And so I think that's just because I'm listing, and I don't know. So I'm taking it as eBay didn't really like it. Not that they didn't like me listing that many. They probably did. Just that they didn't like that for days afterwards. I didn't list anything at all. So, I don't think I'm going to do that again, at least listing that many in a day for sure. And that's skipping because then I didn't list for 5 days.
Right. So what are your big takeaways? So you're cool with photographing 105 in a day, right?
My big takeaways, I would say, are I guess maybe even scaling down. I scaled down to kids stuff for this, but I would scale down to either all shirts or all pants or all shoes. Probably shoes because that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think I could get the photographing done a lot quicker that way, and then just the listing in general is easier. Yeah. So that, and then I do think consistent listing is still important. So I feel like I learned that doing a bunch is not the best way.
Yeah.
For me. If you think it
right, your mileage may vary. It could be the kids' clothes. It could be
that could
a number of variables that wasn't really part of the challenge, right?
Right, and something we didn't talk about is we do cross post to 2 to 3 other platforms, which that didn't happen that day. I didn't plan for it to anyways. I was going to cross post the next day, which I did. Stuff started selling when I cross posted. So at this point, a few have sold on each platform that we do. So yeah.
All right. So Kathy's 105 listings in a day challenge.
Yeah.
I'm calling it a success. We got a lot of work done. And when you really do put your mind to it, you can get a lot of stuff done for sure.
It was fun. I think I could, redo it now knowing what I learned that day and probably hit the 8-hour mark by just adjusting a few things.
So do you want to do another one? Part 2?
I don't know if I definitely don't think I want to do it on the camera. That was stressful to me. I don't know why. I know that nobody was there with me or anything, but just knowing that the GoPro's running the whole time, looking at my watch and stuff like that.
All right, guys. So that does wrap up the 105 challenge. Let us know what you guys thought.
And I'm just curious, if other people have done a similar type of a thing, how much is the most you've ever listed in a day? Do you sell all the same thing?
Yeah.
Did you see anything that we could have improved on? A step that I could take out that could make it go faster? Let us know your thoughts, anything at all.
Yeah. We love to hear your feedback. And if this is your first time watching us, hit that subscribe button. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, sticking to the end. We do appreciate all of you guys so much. And we hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.